Ever find yourself reaching for that third cookie when you promised yourself you'd stop at one? We've all been there, right? In the heat of the moment, our willpower seems to vanish, leaving us reaching for that next piece of instant gratification. But why does this happen? Why can't we just say no and stick to it? Well, folks, it boils down to something called habit loops. These are patterns our brains follow, often without us even realizing it, and they can be quite a challenge to overcome. But don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. The beauty of our brains is that they're capable of change. With understanding and the right strategies, we can break these habit loops and replace them with healthier ones. So, if you're tired of being a captive to your habits, stick around. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. We all have habits we'd like to break, and understanding how they work is the first step towards overcoming them. So what exactly is a habit, and why can it be so hard to break? Well, a habit is a behavior that becomes automatic through repetition. Imagine brushing your teeth, reading before bed, or checking your phone first thing in the morning. These actions become so ingrained in us, we often perform them without even thinking. That's the power of a habit. But how does a habit form? This brings us to the concept of the habit loop, which consists of three parts: a cue, a routine, and a reward. The cue is a trigger that tells your brain to go into autopilot and perform a particular behavior. It could be anything: a location, a time of day, an emotional state, or the presence of certain people. The routine is the behavior itself. It's the action you take in response to the cue. The reward, on the other hand, is the benefit you get from performing the routine. It's the reason you're motivated to do the behavior in the first place. This cycle, the cue, routine, and reward, repeats over and over, strengthening the habit loop. But why are habits so hard to break? This is where the brain comes into play. The basal ganglia, a part of the brain involved in habit formation, plays a significant role. When you perform a behavior over and over again, the neural pathways in your basal ganglia get stronger and stronger. This makes the behavior easier to perform, and over time it becomes automatic. So if you want to break a bad habit, it's not enough just to stop the behavior. You have to understand the habit loop and how it works. You need to identify the cue, the routine, and the reward, and then you need to find a way to disrupt the loop. In other words, our brains are wired to form habits, and breaking them requires more than just willpower. It requires a strategy. Now that we understand how habits form, how do we break the cycle? Well, the answer is simpler than you might think, though it does require a healthy dose of self-awareness and willpower. To begin with, let's revisit the habit loop we discussed earlier. Remember, it consists of three key elements: the cue, the routine, and the reward. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to identify these components in your own life. Let's say you have a habit of reaching for a sugary snack every afternoon. The cue might be the time of day or perhaps a feeling of fatigue. The routine is the act of eating the snack, and the reward could be the brief energy boost you get from the sugar. Got it? Good. Now comes the critical part: breaking the loop. How do we do this? It's not about forbidding the routine altogether. That's a common misconception. Instead, it's about replacing the routine with a healthier behavior that delivers a similar reward. To continue with our example, instead of reaching for that sugary snack, you could go for a brisk walk around the block. This new routine provides a natural energy boost. That's your reward. Over time, as you consistently choose the walk over the snack, your brain will begin to associate the afternoon fatigue, the cue, with the walk, not the snack. And voila, you've effectively changed a habit. It's essential to remember that replacement behaviors need to be as satisfying as the original routine, if not more so. This is where creativity and personal preference come into play. Find a replacement behavior that fits your lifestyle, is enjoyable, and delivers the reward you're seeking. However, we're all human, and there will be times when you slip back into old routines. Don't beat yourself up. Instead, view it as a learning opportunity. Analyze what led to the slip-up and adjust your strategy accordingly. Remember, breaking a habit isn't about stopping a behavior. It's about replacing it with something better. It's about creating a new, healthier loop that enriches your life, rather than detracts from it. Now let's move on to the strategies you can use to help break your habit loops. So what are some strategies we can use to overcome our habits? Let's start with mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being present, of being in the moment. Often our habits are automatic responses to certain triggers, and we may not even be aware we're doing them. By practicing mindfulness, we can bring these habits into our conscious awareness, making it easier to notice when we're engaging in them and providing an opportunity to make a different choice. Next, let's talk about creating an implementation plan. An implementation plan is a roadmap to your goal. It outlines the specific steps you'll take to break your habit. This could involve identifying your triggers and devising alternative responses, or it could mean setting up your environment in a way that makes it easier to avoid the habit. The key is to be specific. Don't just say you're going to stop doing something. Outline exactly how you're going to make that happen. Now onto seeking support from others. Sometimes the journey of breaking a habit can feel lonely, but remember, you're not alone. Reach out to friends, family, or even a professional counselor for support. They can provide encouragement, offer advice, and help keep you accountable. Plus, knowing that others are rooting for you can provide a powerful motivation to stick to your plan. Let's not forget the importance of patience and persistence. Breaking a habit doesn't happen overnight. It requires consistent effort over time. There will be setbacks and there will be moments of doubt, but remember, every setback is a setup for a comeback. It's not about being perfect, it's about getting better one day at a time. Lastly, it's crucial to celebrate your victories, no matter how small they may seem. Progress is progress. So every time you successfully resist the urge to engage in your habit, give yourself a pat on the back. This not only boosts your morale, but also reinforces the positive behavior, making it more likely that you'll do it again in the future. And if you find yourself slipping back into old habits, don't beat yourself up. Instead, use it as a learning experience. Ask yourself what triggered the relapse and how you can respond differently next time. Then pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back on track. Remember, overcoming a habit isn't about willpower alone, it's about creating a new norm and replacing old patterns with new, healthier ones. So, equip yourself with the right strategies, and you'll be well on your way to breaking free from the chains of your habits. Overcoming a habit isn't a one-time event. It's a journey. But with the right strategies, it's a journey you can succeed in. Now that we've armed ourselves with knowledge and strategies, what's next? Well, my friends, it's time to put that newfound knowledge to the test. We've delved into the science of habits, understanding how they're formed and how they operate. We've talked about the habit loop, that continuous cycle of cue, routine, and reward that keeps us tethered to our bad habits. We've also shared some powerful strategies for overcoming these habits. Remember, it's about identifying the cues that trigger your habits, replacing the routine with a healthier alternative, and ensuring that the reward is still satisfying. It's about being mindful and intentional about your actions and breaking free from the autopilot mode that often drives our habits. But knowledge and strategies are only as good as the action that follows. It's like having a map, but never setting foot on the journey. So what's next is the most important part. It's time to take action. It's time to start your journey towards breaking your bad habits. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. This journey may not be easy. There will be bumps, detours, and setbacks. You might stumble, you might fall, but don't let that discourage you. Remember, progress is not about perfection. It's about making small, consistent changes that add up over time. And the rewards, oh, they're worth it. Imagine a life not dictated by bad habits, but one where you're in control. A life where you're healthier, happier, and more fulfilled. That's what's waiting for you at the end of this journey. So, are you ready to take the leap? Are you ready to break free from your bad habits and embrace a better version of yourself? I hope so, because you've got what it takes. You've got the knowledge, the strategies, and most importantly, you've got the determination. Remember, every journey starts with a single step. Take that step today and start your journey towards breaking your bad habits. You've got this.